Hello everyone. Today I will share 10 interview questions, and today's questions are mainly based on JavaScript and Node.js. Let's start now. The first question is, what are the differences between ES5 and ES6? ES5 is the fifth edition of the ECMAScript, which was introduced in 2009. ES6 is the sixth edition of the ECMAScript, which was introduced in 2015. Primitive data types that are string, boolean, number, null, and undefined are supported by ES5. ES6 introduced a new primitive data type named symbol for supporting unique values. In ES5, we could define the variables by using the var keyword only. In ES6, in addition to var keyword, there are two new methods to define variables, which are let and const. Both function and return keywords are used to define a function in ES5. An arrow function is a newly added feature in ES6 in which we don't record the function keyword to define the function. In ES5, a for loop is used to iterate over the elements. ES6 introduced the idea of for-of loop to iterate over the values of the iterable objects. The next question is, what are the differences between var, let, and const keywords? The scope of a var variable is a functional scope, but the scope for let and const variable is block scope. Var variables can be updated and redeclared into the scope. Let variable can be updated but cannot be redeclared into the scope. Const keywords cannot be updated or redeclared into the scope. Var and let variables can be declared without initialization, but const variables cannot be declared without initialization. Var variable can be accessed without initialization as its default value is undefined. Let variable cannot be accessed without initialization, otherwise it will give reference error. Const variable cannot be accessed without initialization because it cannot be declared without initialization. The next question is, what is arrow function? Arrow function was introduced in ES6 and it is the shorthand syntax for writing ES6 functions. They are also called lambda functions or fat arrow function. On the right hand side, there is an example of a normal function, and on the left hand side is an arrow function. We can see here we don't have to use the function keyword in the arrow function, and using the return keyword is also optional. What is callback functions? Functions that are used as an argument to another functions are called callback functions. In this example, we can see there are three functions. The first one is add for adding two numbers. The second one is subtract for subtracting two numbers. And the calculate functions take two numbers and one function as its arguments. So when we pass the add function as its parameter, it will return 14, which is the summation of two numbers. And when we are passing the subtract function, it will return 6 because it is the result of subtraction of these two numbers. So here we can see we can pass add and subtract function as the arguments of the calculate functions. That means the add function and the subtract function is the callback function. The next question is, what is closure in JavaScript? Closure means that an inner function always has access to the variables and the parameters of its outer function, even after the outer function has returned. Here we can see there is an outer function named counter and there is an inner function named increment which has access to its outer variable, which is counter. And in this example, the outer function counter returns the reference of the inner function increment, and increment increases the outer variable counter to 1. So calling the inner function multiple times will increase the counter to 1 each time. What is this keyword in JavaScript? The this keyword in JavaScript refers to the currently calling object, and it is commonly used in constructor to assign values to object properties. What is key? A key is a special string attribute we need to include when creating a list of elements. Keys help React identify which items have changed, added, or removed. Explain the difference between front-end and back-end development. Front-end refers to the client side of an application. Back-end refers to the server side of the application. Frontend is the part of a web application that users can see and interact with. Backend constitutes everything that happens behind the scene. Frontend typically includes everything that attributes to the visual aspects of a web application. Backend generally includes a web server that communicates with a database to serve requests. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, AngularJS are some of the essentials of front-end development. Java, PHP, Python, and Node.js are some of the backend development technologies. What is Node.js? Node.js is an open-source cross-platform JavaScript runtime environment and library for running web applications outside the client's browser, and it is used for server-side web applications. How Node.js works? Node.js runs on Chrome V8 engine, which converts JavaScript code into machine code. Node.js basically works on two concepts. One is non-blocking input-output, another one is asynchronous. Non-blocking input-output means working with multiple requests without blocking the thread for a single request. And asynchronous is executing a callback function. The moment we get the response from the other server or database, it will execute a callback function. This is because Node.js uses an event-driven architecture. Okay guys, that's all for today. I will share more questions in the next video. Thanks for watching.